Good day, Hebrew family. Today on Raw Hebrew Relationships, I want to talk about a somewhat controversial subject and a somewhat misunderstood subject in our modern culture. That is, I want to talk really about two things that are related: marriage and polygamy, or polygyny, depending on how you say it. But we'll say polygamy for our example here. Polygamy is a man that has more than one wife. Okay, a man that has more than one wife. Now, before we get into it, first, what I like to say is we want to look at this from a biblical perspective. Okay, a biblical perspective. And what I mean by that is, for example, you can go all through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. You will never find a marriage ceremony, and you will never find two people saying vows to each other. And you will never find people exchanging rings for marriage. None of that is in the Bible. So somebody might rightly ask, well, where did it come from? Paganism. This came from paganism. None of this is biblical. And I ask anybody that's listening to me, go through and I look at the King James Bible. That's the Bible I use. Find for me where two people are exchanging wedding vows or exchanging rings or having a ceremony, a wedding ceremony. Find that. Because that's not how they do it in the Bible. Okay. In the Bible, it's much simpler than that. So let me use a couple of examples. First, there's Isaac, the son of Abraham, the son of the promise, the son of the promised seed of the chosen people, Isaac. And so I'm looking at Genesis chapter 24, and I'm going to start at verse 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So what happened here? Isaac's father, Abraham, sent his servant to Rebekah's family, who happened to be related to Isaac and Abraham. But he sent to that family to make arrangements for Isaac to have a wife. He sent the servant to the family. He sent the servant to the family with money, or gold, as it were, in this case, and goods, and told him his business. They knew who Abraham was. They knew who Abraham's family was. The family was Abraham's brother's family, and so these were Abraham's nephews and nieces, and his son's Isaac's cousins. But the object that I'm bringing out here is that the two families had an agreement. The prospective spouse and bride had never met. And when the marriage was consummated by him taking her into his mother's tent and basically having sex with her. So in the Bible, that is how a marriage is done. You have basically two families that agree that one side has the daughter and one side has the son, and that they're going to allow these two to be man and wife. Now, generally, there are witnesses to this event, and that's in that regard is similar to today's society. And the witnesses are generally there, and they call it the marriage feast or the marriage supper. Now, you've heard of that in the Bible. And what that is the invited guest witness the husband or the bride and the groom going into a domicile to have sex. And that makes them man and wife. Now, in Bible times, it was expected that the woman would have never had sex with any man before, that she would never have been, that she would be a virgin, that she would never have had sex before. And because if she had had sex before, it meant two things. She had been married before, or as the Bible calls it, she played the whore in her father's house. So that's how the Bible looks at it. So either the woman was never had sex, or if she did, either she was a harlot, which means she could be stoned if that was found out, or she had been married and maybe her husband put her away, or maybe he died and then she was free to marry again. Okay. So in the Bible, there is no ceremony. It's just, so if a man is having sex with a woman, that woman represents one of three positions. Either she is a wife, a concubine, or a harlot. Now, a harlot in the Bible is a woman that's having sex with more than one man. Okay, she's had sex with several men, and she's generally doing it for pay. That's a harlot. Okay, but other than that, it's either a wife or a concubine. Again, let's look at Genesis chapter 29, because this is where Jacob, which was Isaac's son, made an agreement for his wife with Laban. Okay. And so, let's see. I'm going to start at Genesis chapter 29. I'm going to start at Genesis chapter 29. I'm going to start from verse 15. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had two daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better to give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. And they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. So at the end of the 7 years, he was looking for his wife so he could have sex with her, because that was their agreement. That's marriage in the Bible. Now, it's not, again, generally speaking, the two people had never met before the wedding. If they had, it was a courtship in the arrangement situation, as it was here. But it was different than what we're looking at marriage today in many respects. We just talked about one where we're talking about the deal with the two families. Secondly, it wasn't about, oh, I'm infatuated with him and I'm in love with him and I'm going to like him. That's not how it went. In the Bible, women got married and hoped to have sons. And the reason they hoped to have sons was because the sons were their retirement. The sons were to take care of the mother all their life. And so the sons represented Social Security and pension. And so a woman wanted to have sons so that when she got older, they would take care of her. Generally, the women were very young, much younger than the man, because they wanted a man that was established, financially speaking. Okay. So, it wasn't because, we just love each other and I want to be with you forever and you're my soulmate. That's not how they did it in the Bible. It does definitely see that the woman, as this case, Jacob loved Rachel. Or, Sarah and Abraham, she called him Lord. They obviously had a connection, but that was built up generally over time. It was more of a duty and obligation for the marriage to build up the nation. And again, it was generally a situation where a man was in a financial position to take care of a woman and then hopefully provide her sons that can take care of her later. Okay. That's how it was in the Bible. Now, that brings me to the next subject, polygyny or polygamy. So that if you had a man that was very wealthy, like a king, like say David, well, he can take care of many women because of his wealth as king of Israel. So women have no problem being married to him, no matter if it's the first one or the 10th one or the 20th one, because he could provide an estate for each one. Okay, he could provide an estate for each one, and they can have sons with him that could take care of them. Okay, and so again, it always comes down to that in the Bible. Okay, so that was the biblical principle of marriage. It was about survival, continuation of the lineage, and the care of the women or the sisters when they got old. Okay, that's what that was supposed to be about, which is why you had polygyny in the Bible. Now, there's still, from what I estimated, at least 58 countries where polygamy is legal. Okay, and the reason that is mostly is in Africa, for the same way that I just explained to you. So you have a man that's able to work, able to provide, able to accumulate some form of wealth or assets with which he can provide for a woman, with which she hopes that he has sons with her, so that when she has sons, those sons will grow up and take care of their mother. It's the same situation. And quiet is kept. That same principle is used with wealthy people today, just that people don't call it the same thing because of the Christian Puritan principles that are in society now. But generally speaking, you have professional athletes, and quiet is kept. They have many women, and they take care of them with many children. Okay? Like you had a Larry Johnson, they used to play for the Knicks. He had 12 children with all different women. Okay? You had other players did the same thing. Now, some of them lost their fortunes by gambling it away, but a lot of them take care of their women. Nobody says that, but that's what happens. Okay? Carmelo Anthony. He was married to Lala Anthony. They getting divorced. Why? Because he had a child with another woman, and he's taking care of her, and he's taking care of his son Keon, and he's taking care of Lala, and he's taking care of the child he had with the other woman. Why? Because he's rich. He could do that. Okay? So that's not uncommon. It becomes embarrassing when it becomes public because of the culture which we're in. But that's not uncommon today. Okay? So I'm gonna break this teaching up into two parts because of the depth, obviously, we got to go into. But I just wanted to explain in this part what is biblical marriage and what was polygamy and what is it about. It's about survival. It's about building up of a nation. It's about taking care of the woman and hopefully producing sons that could take care of her when you die. Because generally the man was much older than the woman. She was generally in the teens and he was older, 40 or more. And so he was going to die first. So she wanted him to give her sons. And not only that, just in general of the culture, a teenage girl at the time would know how to run a household, know how to cook, know how to clean, know how to organize a house. Okay. Know how to take care of her husband. That was a given. That was a given. Obviously things have changed. You can't expect any woman, basically anything over 14 is generally not a virgin these days, right? Generally the women are not able to take care of a household. Generally, there's Social Security. The government steps in and says, I'm going to take care of you if you work. And generally, the men are not, women don't want to marry no older dude. So unless some women do now, and they look for that. But most women are looking for some young guy around their age. Okay. And he is generally not able, unless he's a professional athlete or entertainer or making big dollars doing something. Generally, he's not of a mindset to be that responsible to take care of a woman like that. And then even if he is, he's going to have, he's going to be a player and he may not even want to take care of he's not doing it because he wants to take care of other women and bring up seed and all that. No, he's doing it because he wants to have sex with as many women as he can. So it's a big difference today, but we're talking about biblical principles here. Right now, the next video, I'm going to stop this video here, let y'all think on that. Go ahead and look through the Bible and find me, where two people are giving vows to each other, where they're exchanging rings, where there's a marriage ceremony. Now there's different again. There's the marriage feast, but there's no giving of rings. There's no vows being said. That's just the witnesses to what's about to happen between the two families. But yeah, go ahead and find that stuff for me. I know you're not going to be able to because it's not there. And then we'll talk more about it in relation to today in the next video. Okay? In the meantime, shalom.